everyone. Thank you for citizens to join the Jamaica Select Board general meeting on Monday, August 14th at 7 p.m. This is a regular meeting. We'll go through some agenda items, and I'm just gonna let everyone know, because I know most folks, or many folks, I don't know if most, are here related to South Hill Paving and patching. That was agenda item number 5. I'll move that up to agenda item 3, which is actually the first substantive item. So first, I'm going to call for any late additions to the agenda. I have one, but it's executive session. So we're going to add an executive session. Just for those of you who are not familiar, that is the one time that the select board meets just among themselves. And you can, if you stay till the end of the meeting, you can hear the recitation of when we move into executive session. But there's several other items in between, so if you don't stay, we won't be heard. I would next like to move to approve the minutes from the July 24th special meeting of the Select Board.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes? If none, I'll move to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
It's just, it wasn't a special.
It wasn't the regular meeting, sorry, the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Right. We did have a special meeting, but that was not it. Yes, the regular meeting. Thank you. You got that, Sarah?
I think so.
Sorry, that was my mistake. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye? Okay, so moved.
Aye.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Greg. Greg is with us. So I'm going to move to point number 5, which is the South Hill Paving. At the time that we created this agenda, we were still doing research to see what we could accomplish this fall and what we couldn't accomplish this fall with respect to the paving. We did only receive one bid, but it was a solid bid. That was the one we were planning on accepting, but we were not certain whether it could be accomplished this fall. And I spoke to Chrissy. Where's Chrissy? Oh, there she is, right in front of me. So Chrissy gave me a heads up, which is very helpful, and I still thank everyone for coming, and we can still have discussion. But the good news is this: the town is consuming, obviously, a lot of our available cash, and I'll talk a little bit later when we're discussing FEMA. We're going to need to obtain a line of credit to cover the expenses that we are incurring, the extraordinary expenses, in anticipation of FEMA funding. However, as most of you know, the South Hill paving project was budgeted, which helps. But what we did, Keith did discuss, Keith is here, and Keith, please correct me if I'm saying anything incorrectly, spoke with the bidder, the contractor, who did submit the bid for the paving project. And can I say this generally? Okay. Sure. The contractor has very graciously offered to defer a substantial portion of the bill, even though this company will complete the work, barring any unforeseen circumstances, like another flood, will complete the work before the winter. And we will not actually have to come up with 100% of the cash. And as I said, it's a substantial deferral, which is a huge help to the town. So as of now, we have accepted the bid. Do we have an update as to when work will start?
He said pretty quick, 3 weeks, a month.
Within a month, he'll start. And then did he say when he thought the work would be, we'll work on the same schedule we had anticipated initially?
Oh yeah, I guess pretty much, right? It's just a couple of days of work for them.
Right. So now, I mean, with that, that's obviously a big change in terms of news from the last meeting when we discussed it, but any questions, knowing that that's...
What exactly will they do?
I'm gonna let Keith...
It's a shim and pave. They're gonna level the road.
From where to where?
From,
Town line.
yep, from the town line to Barbara's house.
Okay.
That works. Rashid, did you have a question?
Does any of the paving include any ditch work? Because obviously my house has been seriously impacted by neglected ditch work and flow of water, so it's all going into my house at this point. So is that on the agenda before or after or during that project
On South Hill?
on South Hill?
Yeah,
Because I'm directly impacted, as you know, impacted by that.
yeah, I mean, as we're working our way out on each road, that road is supposed to schedule to start tomorrow. You know, like the cleanup and,
Because typically you'll do the ditch work before the paving, correct?
yeah, but this is the other side of
Oh,
South
the dirt, the
Hill
dirt.
and all done.
Okay. So not the hillside coming into town where the pavement is already?
No,
Oh, where your house is?
No.
no, it's that far
It's to
south
Barksdale.
Hill.
It's just to Barksdale.
Wardsboro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Different project,
it. Yep.
yeah. I didn't see any other hands. Any other questions?
So why isn't it getting done the entire stretch that's there?
I mean, we can,
I mean, because Sheila's Corner got taken out pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I guess the initial plan was so that we don't take a beating all in one year from Barbara's house up. We could just do a top coat and probably not have to shim much. It's pretty level. So we were thinking maybe a year or two down the road, top coat that portion so we don't take a $400,000 bath all at once.
and you probably noticed that we voted in the new budget at the last meeting, but we already were dealing with
yeah, but this has been
significant
budgeted
price.
twice now. I mean, it was budgeted years ago and it didn't happen because they extended this side of South Hill. So the budget was there before.
Okay, I can't talk to that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you should be educated on it if you're on board.
No, but what I can do is say.
But that's why we didn't get paid 3 years ago.
What I can say is with respect to this last year's budget, to do, to approve something which would be essentially twice the cost of what we're approving, what is happening now, would have really burdened an already quite burdened budget. So that was the, you know.
I don't think it was budgeted for.
I'll look it up.
This side was done because it was in the same condition as the other side. It was just all wheel tracked. And it was, I don't remember that side. That side was a separate project altogether.
We were told that all the pavement in Jamaica was gonna get done, and then you had to stop because it was a class 3, not a class 2 town road.
Say that again?
You guys were getting funding for class 2 town roads.
Yeah.
And you guys weren't, the Selectboard at the time wasn't aware that it was class 3 town road. So they thought that the funding was gonna go, so they were supposed to do all the pavement in town that year.
Yeah.
And we got shut off because you didn't have enough funding then, but you used it to extend this side of the pavement instead of coming up the other one.
But that wasn't under the class 3, class 2.
No, I know.
It wasn't
but
under a paving grant.
It was, no, I understand that, but it was scheduled to be all done at that time. And then the select board that was here at the time didn't realize it was a class 3 and not a class 2, so. What we're saying is that side of the South Hill has been getting shafted for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And on everything, not just pavement, you know, it seems like the village gets everything they want, whenever they want it. And up here on the other side, we don't get anything. We used to get pavement swept, we don't get that anymore. Bruce had to go buy his own sweeper, because his house gets dusted, Barbara's house gets dusted, just as bad as anybody in town.
And no roadside mowing for years. I mean, it's been years.
We attempted to get bids for roadside mowing. We got one and it was astronomical.
Right.
Nobody would have wanted to be
Nobody
paying
wants
for
to put their
that.
equipment on these roads now because it'll beat the hell out of their equipment.
It
It's
had
very
nothing to
expensive
do with the
equipment.
roads, Julie. It had.
No,
we-
it does have to do with the roads.
We
We can't drive
Okay, but
vehicles
all I
on
can
South
tell
Hill
you
Road
is
without getting brushed.
The people
on
who
one
we,
side or the other.
I understand that,
That's
but
way
the
it is.
people we reached out to did not cite the conditions of the roads as to why they wouldn't. And the one person who did, just the reason it was expensive was not, at least according to what we found, was not because of the condition of the roads, it's just expensive equipment. So I'm not the expert on that. I'm only telling you what we learned when we got that astronomical bid.
No, it's not brush cutting anymore, it's tree cutting. That's the problem.
That's right.
It's not brush anymore on the sides of the road. So.
that one corner.
I hear, but we've been seeking bids, at least since I've been on the board, and we have not, since Drew did it, and he said at the time, this is too expensive to do at the price that I'm doing
Get
it.
the guys in the
Karen's
the
here,
road
she
to
could
at least
probably
just patch that.
remember that better than me.
Plow on it, or, because that one chunk is sticking up probably that far, it's gonna drive your teeth if you're trying to snow plow it.
And just one more complaint while we're on complaints, because Knight Road, the Noella sign got taken out by when Donnie Lyons was driving the plow truck here. That sign got cut off with the plow truck, never got put back. We ended up after 3 years screwing it to the tree because there it is, at least it's there. And the same with Knight Road sign, that's been down, it's leaning on Will Street. It's been that way for at least a year. I mean, there's just no care, there's no care on that side of the hill. It's not okay.
Thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me.
I just
we
wish
fired
that they drive
Donnie.
over there more often.
This is a great turnout. I mean, it's great to hear this firsthand. I mean, you know me, Julie, you can
Yeah, but
always
we're not
call me.
complainers, that's a problem. We haven't complained for years about this, we've sat back and we've taken it.
Right.
We're done taking it.
But other people tell us when there are issues. You can call me and you know me.
Just
Call
go
me.
drive your car 25 miles an hour, you will lose something on that car. Guaranteed. I'm just saying,
I've
drive
been
the
on the
hill.
street many times. I know.
Not lately
there.
then, because you wouldn't be okay with it.
And that's why we're here, and that's
That's
why
right,
we worked
that's why
what we
we're here.
could to get this paving done, and
Good.
someone
We're
stepped
super
up
happy
and
about
did the right thing. So, in a really difficult time. So I hear when, you know, it's kind of like a marriage, right? When the spouse holds it in, and then 5 years later, it all comes out. What you just said, if you tell us, if you tell me, you can always email me, you have my email. Just let me know.
Yeah, we have road crew, they know, they've been plowing it, they've been driving it, come on.
But you're coming to a select board meeting because you want the select board to hear and respond. And that's what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying.
I actually came because I was upset about the last meeting, so that's why I'm actually here. So I'm happy to hear the results of today. This is a good day. It's a good day.
But and absolutely, but please, do reach out to me. If there's something going on, reach out to me. All right?
I have another question. Can you tell us about the contractor who's going to do the work? Not that I know who they are, but what is it?
Oh, yeah, it's all public information. Fuller?
Okay, oh, okay. Yeah.
No, they're from,
Andy?
He has his own, well, he can tell you more, but he actually has his own asphalt plant. So it makes it a little,
Black gold.
you know, black gold, right? Someone who's in a better position to be available for the work regardless of the timing and also to help us out financially. So is there anyone else who wants to share something that they've held off? Yes.
I just have a question. Has somebody inspected where the washouts are? Like, what's the integrity underneath there and how far? Because when you're coming up as a single car,
Yeah,
and then you meet someone you're trying to get over,
No,
if
you
you're looking
can't.
at the passenger side,
right.
how much of that is gonna crumble? And then,
Right, I backed up.
so is somebody going, have they inspected it at all?
Short answer is yes, but I'll let Keith.
this is on South Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, as we go through, we're gonna peel the blacktop off and repair the shoulder. I mean, it's all gonna have to be repatched, so yeah. It'll get dug out from underneath, or dug out on top, shoulder fixed, repaved.
Keith, not just that road, but has V-Trans been running around looking at other roads too, surveying them for material and
At the
like
meeting,
Howe Farm Road, they were up there saying what a mess that was. It's all ditched out.
Right
Path.
after the storm.
I had 3 jobs up there, so I know what you mean. I can turn around, or I could get in there and then I couldn't get out.
You back out.
I had to do more than that, but.
Now, this is for Keith, when you say they're gonna shim coat, are they gonna grind it before they shim coat?
there's not enough there to grind, it's like only this thick,
Well, that's why you gotta get rid of it.
because
It's
under,
only this thick, but that was what they put down 25 years ago.
under V-Trans, you can't strip the road Under the roads and bridge standards, you can't strip the road if you don't put back 5 inches.
So how many inches are they putting? 2? 3?
It'll be 3.
Probably close to 3.
And then recode it again next year is what you said.
No, they're gonna do it all this year.
Two coat, like an inch and a half.
Yeah, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, they're gonna put the shim course down, and, leveling course, and then put 2 inches on top of that would be standard.
Because that was the plan, to totally strip it.
Yeah, I thought that's what you said, and then you didn't mention it.
But once V-Trans sniffed that out, they put a kibosh to it.
Really?
Yeah.
23.
That road's really, I mean, if you look at the road, it's really not hollowed out where the tire tracks go anyhow, so it leads you to believe the base is pretty good underneath, So reclaiming it wouldn't.
Well, I was just thinking, of doing it out, you do it all in the same materials, you wouldn't have the potholes going back through.
Well, if you go through and patch the potholes first, that should take care of that
And strip
anyhow.
what they want to do with core testing. So you drill down and they find an old piece of stone wall, then you're digging the road out, 3 feet before.
Well, Stuart's got a big old gravel pit, you can dump it all in there.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
So what we see a lot is that the road gets paved and then the ditches are not properly done. So then stormwater erodes under the pavement and the pavement collapses, which is exactly the case that Rashid was talking about. This part of South Hill.
Oh, this lower part, yeah.
So just wondering if there's any plan to stabilize any ditches that need stabilization, making sure that the walls of these ditches are not vertical. They shouldn't be vertical, they should be sloped.
For where the paving is happening or lower down?
Yeah. Well, for where the pavement's happening, so that we don't wash out the new paving again.
Right. I thought you were asking maybe lower down, but you mean specifically where the project's happening. So I'll turn it to Keith.
I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear what you were saying. You'll have to say it again, sort of.
Are there any plans to stabilize the ditches where they need to be stabilized and fix any vertical walls? Because ditches should not have
It's all
vertical
gonna be
walls
stone, it's all gonna be stone line, yes.
before the paving?
From the town line up, probably, yeah, because we're going up there tomorrow to start, so unless he shows up in 3 days.
Any other questions on South Hill? Sure, I mean, you can always ask later if you think of one as we're
Just
talking
about South Hill?
Yeah, right now we're talking about, we moved up 0.5 because we have some FEMA folks. So I'm gonna go back to the next item.
I have some South Hill questions, but it's not in regards to that.
Of the paving?
It's more down low. So
Right.
let's hold that till
Let him
later.
rip, we want to know, we come this way too.
Okay. What?
I have V-Trans looking at the section by Rashid's house, or right above it on South Hill Road. I think a lot of it's coming from the Sissico property.
Right,
Going down
saw
the-
that.
There's about 6 acres that all ends up right in that ditch that probably dumps over the road there.
Right.
So we're gonna, this lady with V-Trans is gonna take a look at it. We're gonna schedule. I'll let you know.
So that's gonna be engineered then, or? what's it-
It's up to them, they gotta figure out what the problem is or the source. It appears it's coming from that 6-acre tract on the top of the hill or about just behind your house.
Some of it is, and some of it's.
And coming down the driveway, and then there's more coming down that steeper hill too.
Because some of it's coming out of the old night property as well. I'm taking all the water from South Hill in my house right now for the
Well,
last
it's
few years.
from multiple sources,
Yeah.
exactly what you described. So this is it's a complex problem. So there, and then wasn't there someone else who was also coming?
Well, we've also got the state looking at Ball Mountain Brook.
Oh, right, the fellow,
From
right.
Depot Street all the way up to
Right.
South Hill Road as
Right,
well.
so we have another engineer who's actually gonna look at all the hot spots all up and down Ball Mountain Brook. So that and the way, so that's the piece that fits, that's another source of your challenges.
Can I get that information from that engineer as well?
I mean, do you wanna come? I mean,
Well, I'm kind of directly in the middle, I'd say
Right.
it might be from everything below to the bridge.
the only thing I'll just caution you, sometimes the plans of when we meet them come together a little last minute. but we'll include you on the,
10
yeah.
minutes away at the
Right.
end of the day.
And then you can be there to kind of describe what you saw, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Hopefully, in the coming days, these meetings will happen.
And that engineer would be somebody who's funded or is working for the state or town?
So, state, it's not, you know, if whatever project we do has to be FEMA funded, and if it's not, then we have to talk about where the money would come
I
from.
mean, because there's FEMA funding for the state and for the town. And then if you're looking at multiple projects that are going to be state funded and town funded, I think it's, you know, important that we get people to collaborate on those, because we're talking about Pikes Falls falling into the river, that's the town. If we're talking about the bridge going out, that's the state. And I think it's important that we kind of make sure that those two entities are communicating with each other, especially the engineers involved, because the funding's going to be coming from multiple places.
Yeah, what I see is that we have like our two, like, the Code of Federal Regulations tells you exactly where you apply, how you apply, and we are attempting to comply with that. Mike knows a little bit more. I don't ever see them talking to each other, but maybe you do see that, unfortunately. But I shouldn't speak out of school, some folks.
But there's a marriage there right now between that Pikes Falls Road and where it meets the bridge. And one isn't addressed, the other one's gonna be affected.
Oh, I thought you were talking just about funding, about money.
No, just
Oh.
how the two correlate together.
Oh,
how
you
we
mean
interact with
The
Pikes.
solution, the
The state's
solution.
not gonna fix Pikes Falls Road, that's gonna be the town, and then it's town FEMA money that's different from state FEMA money.
Right.
But they're both gonna impact each other, so at some point in time, there's gotta be a conversation between the two.
But FEMA
Yeah, I
It'll
mean,
make us-
in
it'll make
other,
us
in
put
other
it back.
areas, right.
together the way they spec. We went through that with Irene.
Right.
I mean,
So in other words, so there are other areas where a town road enters into a state road, right? So you would think we would have a point person at V-Trans who we could be talking to about the impact of what the town has to do with the town road onto the state road. At least so far, that has, at least in my, you know, what I see, it's not easy. There's not an obvious way to make that happen. What is obvious is, we have a very circumscribed way that we can structure projects that we get FEMA money for, that are town projects, and then V-Trans operates. And we don't have to obtain that funding, they have their own funding. Where those two intersect, which is at least not where your house is, but in another area, I cannot to this day understand how the two connect.
Right,
They do not, they don't seem to. It's like there's no one on the other side. There's no one to be talking to. But I'm not gonna say that will happen in this case, you know, but it's tough.
We
It
have
is
a
tough.
$5.5 million bridge that was built after FEMA there. And we have water that's behind the bridge. If you look at the track of the river right now at my house, it has to go this way to go this way. Next storm's gonna be my house, Smith's house, rural septic, the bridge, the post office, and Ostas.
Well, I was told by Scott Jensen there's a project going on there.
There is.
And in 1976, it went through in between the Beckwith Gallery and the house adjacent to it, and then across through the post office parking lot. And that's the track the water wants to take.
So Scott Jensen, who's the,
I got him that from Scott.
right, so he's given us the go-ahead on he's designing a project for that area. Keith can talk to it.
I thought it was, he told me it was you.
Yeah, I got the permit already. I can move the river, but I'm not gonna put $250,000 in moving the river, stabilizing the bank from above Crockett's all the way to the bridge. But yeah, we can move it, we can pull the gravel back, but I'm looking at funds and I'm looking at help to do that because it's a community effort, not a personal effort.
But there's a plan in place, yes? Like,
There is a plan and a permit in place. But again, right now, that plan and that permit falls on my shoulders, and that's where I'm looking for help from the community, from the state, from the town. I'm not just protecting my land, I'm protecting everything downstream as well, including that bridge and the other homes.
Okay, this I don't think I'm familiar with. Have you spoken to Greg? Is Greg also aware? Greg Melman?
Yep.
Okay. Greg, he's on the phone.
Go ahead.
Greg, are you familiar with this plan, and did you have something you wanted to share?
I don't have, I mean, other than the general overview that, and again, I'm only on the phone, so I'm trying to pick up voices, and I'm only hearing half of a lot of conversations, but I believe that's Rashid who's talking.
Yes.
And that is through Mike and Keith and myself, and I apologize, I've been away a few weeks, but there is a coordinated effort to, with the fire department and a lot of those upstream properties to, make that work, I guess. I mean, to improve it and to mitigate some of the potential problems. So the details of the projects, I don't have those.
So this presumably would fit into the larger Ball Mountain.
That would be my view. That
Okay.
they really have to, we have to break it up to FEMA funding too.
Right.
So we have to kind of look at it almost in segments and who would be responsible for these segments for funding.
Right.
But we have Scott looking at really that full section.
Right.
And looking at a grander plan that'll both remove a lot of the material that's in the river and crush it up for road material, and some of it will be redistributed within the channel.
Okay.
Is kind of what's being envisioned.
So would it improve Rashid's situation, or we don't know?
It should, yeah,
It should.
absolutely. But, when you have an event like we did last month, it's
Right.
difficult to fathom what impact it would have on that improvement.
Right.
But,
So then I think it really does behoove you to join if we can work it out at all for you to join that, the walkthrough of Ball Mountain Brook.
I have the USDA and the NRCS coming over to my property onto Route 30 tomorrow at 2 p.m. So if anyone, I'm kind of just starting the process for a grant to see if I can hand it over to the town once I get it to a certain point, but it has to be a municipal, funded grant, not funded, excuse me, sponsored grant. So they, because I told them that there's no connection between Mr. Pickering and the town, there's a disconnect there, that, maybe they can help and streamline that. So they're coming over to just do a walkthrough. They're gonna be going to the Ball Mountain Brook, and they're gonna be looking at all the groundwater there. So that's at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Do you know who from the NRCS is coming?
There's a few different people. I think I can give you the information right now.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's at 2 p.m. And where's the original meeting place?
My house.
Where's that?
It's on West Hill. It's the first house up on the right.
Okay. Oh, I know your house. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the stone car.
Yep.
Did you want to say something?
I was just looking up the acronym.
Pickering, was it Mark Pickering?
No, NRCS, he was.
Oh, National Resource Conservation. Yeah.
Sure.
Any other comments, questions? For now? Okay, so just because we do have some folks in from a unique part of FEMA, are they, where is she in?
Yes, they were.
Thank you, Kate.
I think they left.
Are we allowed to use this door right here?
You can use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's driving, but
Oh, I guess they did leave. All right, I can speak to it. Yeah, I don't blame them. No, I'll just, we all, Mike and I, were you at that meeting? No, and Greg. Oh, they are here. Okay, here they are. And there's some seats. Want to just give there's excellent. Thank you, Karen.
Did you guys sign that already? Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna resume regular business. Thank you. So this is item number 3, a series of FEMA topics. The first one, we have 2 folks from a unique part of FEMA here to talk about their efforts that are underway. This was an education for me. I think of as FEMA as geared towards individuals or municipalities. This arm, which I will not steal their thunder, but in essence is they undertake to identify community organizations, non-governmental organizations and the like, to organize them to form a long-term recovery group. Because as all of us who have lived in the town for a while, once FEMA leaves after the immediate aftermath of a storm event, there are still months, if not years, of lingering impacts. And this is a special unit within FEMA that gives non-governmental organizations the tools they need to form these long-term recovery groups. So should I just turn it over to you? Is that
Okay, and we're done.
Oh, sorry.
That was great. Thank you. I'm Anna Geary, and I work for FEMA with my colleague Pat Falcon, and we are voluntary agency liaisons. And what our job is to connect the community to the what is called a VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters. And so there's a state level and there's a national level. And if you recall, after the event, there were organizations like the Mennonites, like the Team Rubicon, the Baptist Men that come in and respond to an event. And those organizations are all part of this national organization called the VOAD, National VOAD. Again, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. So under the national organizations, every state across the country also has a state VOAD, which also has specific members under their 501c3. So our job here is to connect the community to those members to be able to meet long-term unmet needs. And like Jessica said, this is going to be, the recovery part is going to be a while. Sometimes it could take 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, many years. If we look at what's happening in Hawaii, that's going to be many years. So there's always, regardless how much comes in initially to meet those immediate needs, after insurance is gone, after the state has pitched in, after FEMA's done their part, we all leave. Those nonprofit organizations stay in your community and continue to help people recover, and we call those unmet needs. So what we do is we try to bring all the nonprofits and the churches, these organizations that are doing this work, to one table, so that the survivor doesn't have to go from this church and ask for some money, tell their story, come tell their story to another nonprofit, and etc., just to get their needs their unmet needs met. So we bring them to one table. It's called a long-term recovery group. They have to have specific items like an executive board. They do have to have a fiscal agent. They have to have bylaws, a mission statement, etc., to be able to be recognized by the state VOAD. Once all those items are in place, then the state VOAD can be there to offer guidance and to assist them, the long-term recovery group, with unmet needs. The unmet needs committee, the unmet needs group has subcommittees, so they'll have a case management, which is the most important, because that case worker will be able to review all the cases that are in your community and be able to call on people and make sure that they have got to their new place and are whole and safe and they have functional home.
And one of those, you've met or you're going to meet with Neighborhood Connections? Is that?
So we've met with Neighborhood Connections and we're together, we have planned a meeting for the communities surrounding Londonderry. Neighborhood Connections is going to let us use their facility for the meeting. The meeting is going to be, it's specifically for nonprofit organizations and for faith-based organizations, so the pastors and priests, etc., can join us on Tuesday, the 29th at Neighborhood Connections. So we'll be meeting there to talk about and go in depth on how to set that group up. And once they come together with that, they themselves will select, nominate each other or self-nominate for those executive positions. And then once that's in place, they'll start setting up committees and then they'll start working on bylaws and find a fiscal agent, etc. So for you, being Jamaica, we're asking you to send representatives to ensure that when this group is formed, Jamaica has representation in this long-term recovery group, okay? Because then you know that you're getting the information back to your town, to your neighbors, and who knows them best but the churches and the nonprofit organizations and such. So that's the overview, and we just want to make sure that, again, that you know you're invited when we do get this meeting. We'll send you an invitation and you can get it to your churches and your nonprofit organizations. And so that's basically why we were here. Pat, want to add anything else?
No, just those of you that were here during Irene, you might have heard of these groups. So some of them, the skeletons of those groups are still around. Like there was 9 long-term recovery groups throughout the state. So we're trying to take the basics of those and rebuild them, so to speak. And this is just one of them. There's, there's five others that we're trying to work on. And the only thing I want to access is that the national groups that come back in with their work teams, they don't recognize, just like an individual can't write to those groups and say, I had my house destroyed. It's got to go through this conduit of long-term recovery groups because they're bona fide. Like Anna said, there's a fiscal agent, responsible people for making sure the bylaws are followed and that sort of thing. And we hope that once we form these, that we kind of keep these organizations into the future, just in case another event happens. We don't have to go back and try looking for people that were in the last long-term recovery group. Hopefully, even if you have 50% of the people stick around without the ins and outs of people's lives, just so you have some form of organization left to react again to a response.
Okay. Any questions for us? Okay, then.
What time is the meeting on Tuesday the 29th?
3 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, just so it's clear that it is for nonprofit organizations and faith-based organizations. We do, sometimes town clerks or emergency managers will show up, but one of the things we make clear is that you can be part of the group or part of the committees, but the officials, governmental officials or appointed officials don't have a vote once they start case management and start dispersing funds, etc. So we want to make sure there's no conflict of interest. Okay.
Well, I think that was Susan, so that's the library.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So kind of a perfect one of the,
All right, well, thank you for your time, and you have our number and our contact, and so Jessica, if there's anything we can do or any questions before then, we're here for you. As long as we're here, we're here.
All right, thank you so
all
much
right,
for coming.
thank you.
Thank you so much. So, among the items in this the FEMA agenda, multi-pronged agenda, was the noting of the opening of the Disaster Recovery Center. So I think everyone has now seen the flag. I don't think we know exactly how long it's going to last. It is exclusively for individual. It's not municipal. It's for individuals who need assistance working with FEMA. I know my application personally got rejected because there was a technical issue in it. So I'm going to go into the Disaster Recovery Center and try to figure out what went sideways. I know, right? Bureaucracy, it's a beautiful thing, but can't, right? So that, it was a soft launch this week. That's why it was not publicized. I think it's going to be publicized soon. I don't know, Greg, did it say when?
It's been on the news.
Yeah, it's been published.
Oh, it has? They pushed out a press
All week,
release?
yeah.
But he said he was going to email it to us so that we could put it on the website. Okay, all right.
So so that's probably my fault. I sent it out to my network and I didn't send it easily publicized.
Okay.
It wasn't even in, like, if you called FEMA themselves, they were still sending people from Londonderry or Rutland.
Well,
That's at the beginning of the, last week and beginning of this week. And I was actually on my way to Londonderry to Floodner when I saw the flags and stuff. So on their end, there might be some disconnect. I mean, obviously they're here, but.
I mean, probably it was on BT Digger, but not every, right. So if you have the press release, can you send it to Sarah and I, and then we'll push, well, at least,
Yes.
and Karen can push it out on Facebook?
I do have the press release.
Okay, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. But anyway, they're gonna be here for probably a couple more weeks, they thought. We'll see. Depends on how many people visit. But it's really helpful to just, I mean, they have experts there, and that's, you know, it's an asset for us. So if, like me, you need it, go in and try that. There is a looming deadline for individual applications, so I'm just saying that to the camera. Please, you know what, I just realized I don't have the deadline with me. Is it the 20th for individuals?
For individuals, I think it's 27.
It is, yeah. I'll double check and we'll put that on the website, but please just be aware, for those who are listening on camera, that for applications for FEMA recovery on behalf of individuals, that deadline is coming soon. The municipal deadline also is coming soon, but we submitted and we've registered, so we've started the process. And Mike has been diligently tracking these projects. We now have a bit more work to do with Keith, but whoever wants to speak to that in more detail, I don't have to do all the talking. Everybody looks so we're all so tired today. We did have meetings today with a consultant, I can say that. There's a fellow who's out of Grafton who has been doing this work with Londonderry, who else was he talking about? Grafton itself, but also the third town. Is he helping Ludlow also?
I don't know.
There was a third town that he's helping. And he's just been through this ringer a lot, and the rules have been updated and are changing, and he's just meticulous, and he's going to be just a second set of eyes to make sure that everything we are submitting is done for the right time, the first time, to increase our chances of getting funding sooner and not having this drag on for years.
I have a question. In regards to that funding, and obviously the town needs a lot of repairs, a lot of road work, a lot of things have been impacted at a great expense to the town. Is there an engineer that will be coming in to not only look at that, but to look at how to build it back better, because Band-Aids are only going to last until the next storm, and obviously we're going to be seeing more storms. And if we put tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars into just patching this stuff up, we really need to look at how we can build it back better so it doesn't happen again. It just seems like we're throwing money down the river, like I did in the last storm.
Yes, believe me, this is our new normal, right? This whole, this could happen in 10 years, it could happen in 100 years. It's gonna be every year. I mean, if you think about March, the July storm was storm number 2 of that size. in 1 year. We have some challenges. FEMA has very strict regulations as to the nature of a project and what they will reimburse you for. So just as a small example, if you're replacing culverts that are smaller than the larger 3-foot culverts, you have to just replace that same culvert one size up. That's it. You can't get an engineering study that says, oh, you actually need to double the size of that culvert and you need to not put it there, you need to put it there. You can get that study and FEMA will say, you have to replace that culvert pretty much right there and you can go one size up. That's one example. And that weaves through every project. Now Keith can speak to this with a little more expertise than Greg, but as a non-expert, I found that maddening. So really what we can leverage FEMA funds for, we have some, like a little bit of wiggle room, but not nearly as much as we need to understand that this is our new normal. And so just a minor upgrade to existing structures is completely inadequate for us going forward. We've already been looking at the areas, the hot spots. Your hot spot, Diana's, where Diana is on South Hill, on West Hill South, where we know there are going to be much more major infrastructure projects that have to happen. It doesn't mean there isn't funding for them. Like the Pikes Falls culvert, which we'll do when we can now, we got funding for that. It's not 100%, but we got substantial funding for that. And it's around $150,000 to $200,000 project. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at the next several years of projects that are each in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. There is some funding. Mike is already identifying those, but we're going to have to hack at this as I'm describing, which is we have to.
The hot spots are obviously really important because you don't want to do a $200,000 project every year because you didn't do it right the year before.
We've identified probably a half a dozen of those very expensive projects that we should try to do. They're multi-year, but they shouldn't be 20 years, shouldn't be over 20 years, which is what we used to have the luxury of doing. We don't have that now. Now, on some level, the state is aware of that, right? Nobody wants to speak like this is not the new normal, but the money is not like this. Jerry, they're not saying, oh, tell us, Jamaica, now that you've had 2 years ago a major flood event, last winter a major snow event, and now this summer 8 inches in a day flood event, where we almost had the spillway overflowed. Here's all this new money. Here's the engineer, figure it out, tell us how we can, that's not happening. We're gonna have to be as nimble as we can, and as funds come available, we're gonna have to try to squeeze every bit out of it. Unfortunately, some of these projects are not ones that are amenable to the smaller grants. They're just really big infrastructure projects.
Oh. Rashid, when he asked you a question, you sort of went around it, sort of ignored him. He asked if the town was going to hire a road engineer, which I believe they should. I mean, Keith and his guys do the best they can, but they're not engineers. I think would be feasible if the town, taxpayers, would pay for a road engineer, somebody who knows how to fix the problems correctly the first time, not wait till each event happens, rather than, never mind, but just do that.
You mean, go ahead.
What is all the talk, if you watch the last governor's, one of them, like flood conference, there's all this talk about putting things back much better. Governor admits we made a mistake laying out all our roads by the, down by the streams and blah, blah, blah. They're very convincing when they're talking about what when we put something back, they're gonna do it so the next time it'll take the hit better. And I was listening to that and I don't understand how does that get implemented now? They're talking like a big up a big
Town has
game.
to hire an engineer to go through each road that's really, really out, so I don't have to get, or how to fix it, so it will alleviate ruining Rashid's house, Diana's, other people's places. I mean, we have to think of the people. Infrastructure is a very important part of this community. And I think, I know there's only just a few people here, but the community is, we're supposed to be for everybody. Whether somebody lives up on South Hill, somebody lives on West Hill South, somebody lives on East Jamaica. We're supposed to work and help each one of them. Not worry about, because FEMA's just gonna give us money to put back. That's what they did in Irene. You can only put it back the way it was, but look what happened.
Some of it got put back better.
Not much.
Part of the question you just put, I think, has to do with the difference between FEMA and state.
Right.
We got some things done during Irene by the state that FEMA wouldn't do. Well, FEMA's very clear, they're gonna put it back the way it was. It sounds like they've modified it. If they're talking about a culvert that's one size up, that's an improvement over FEMA.
Oh, yeah, then from
Big
Irene,
time.
right.
Yeah,
right.
so if the state's saying, we're gonna build things back better, and FEMA's saying, not on our dime. And that's sort of what I think I hear when I hear the governor talking in FEMA. FEMA still has this fear that and this is the overriding fear that was driving Irene, that the municipalities are gonna say, oh good, there's the FEMA money, we've been putting off the maintenance of this culvert, for example, for 20 years, let's use FEMA money to fix it. FEMA doesn't wanna go around using a storm as an excuse to fix all the neglected projects for 20 years. So they're sticky about that money, and I understand that completely. But I think I hear the state finally saying we're gonna make things better.
Very convincing.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how.
Well, they're gonna have to use
They're gonna do it in Montpelier, in Ludlow. They got people like Lex is suggesting, looking at, we can't put it back that way, because look what happened.
So I think, I must not have been clear, because Lexa thought I danced around something. We have an engineer coming to look at Bull Mountain Brook. These projects have to be engineered. You don't get money unless they're engineered. So maybe that's the confusion that I had, Lexa, with your question, is that you can't have one without the other. So these projects, unless they are fully engineered, we don't get grant money. Now, are you talking about something different other than?
No, I just want to make sure the town has engineers, road engineers, to work with FEMA, whoever, the state, that they continue to do it. Not just pick Joe off the street that's a road engineer. We have to get professionals, real professionals.
Just looking back at Irene, and Paul could, remember we hired the Keene Company and engineered everything? And then all of a sudden FEMA said, you guys didn't even spend all that money on that. And it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They didn't pay for it.
They said no other town is doing that after they hammered us to have everything engineered.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, one day I was sitting there. What's her name? Andy said, you guys you don't need to do that. After they told us we did, so. Some of this is easier said than done. I'm not like.
One of the things that was clear,
mind-blowing,
was that during Irene, it was very, very much like we were building the airplane while we were flying it. That we were, as time went on, and years of time went on, they kept changing it. They kept changing different pieces of it. And we have to go back and redo it. And it got increasingly smarter, but it never really got fully smart. Now, hopefully it's in better shape now than it was. But as it got smarter, it never quite got fully smart.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I will say there are resources. We've had 2.5 meetings directly with a fellow who's, stationed here from FEMA. We know who the regional director is going to be for this storm response. And then we're waiting now, hopefully soon, for our Jamaica person. And by the way, when that person comes, that's gonna be, then we'll actually have a voice on the federal side to talk, Rashid, to, at least we'll have a body on the federal side. So it kind of gives us some hope, maybe there'll be a connection, so that you've got, the ability to knit together federal funds, state funds, and then whatever gap the town has to make up. So I shouldn't be so doom and gloom. We do have a human being coming from FEMA at some point. I forget when he said that we thought we would have an appointment. Soon, next, maybe a few weeks, but they never like to promise, right?
So there's still no date.
Not for our point person, no, not yet. But the regional person's been appointed, and that regional person is the one who appoints for each town. So at least the person who's gonna actually name the person has been appointed. So I know that's kind of, right. Sarah, we didn't get timing, right? Did we get timing? No. So, anyway. So, yes, I think, anything else on FEMA? Anything you wanted to add, Greg?
I don't have anything more to add, no, thanks.
Oh, we now have two Gregs, so I'm gonna have to say, which Greg. But thank you, Greg, on the phone. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Quick kind of question, or since, and maybe this isn't the right forum, but at least since we're all in the same room here, because I have severe damage, you have severe, and you came out, and I didn't know you could get the USDA to come out on your own. I talked to that Emma lady. I thought it had to go through the town.
It does, but I have an agricultural situation going on as well, so they're trying
as well.
Yeah, so I was like, wait a minute, I talked to that Emma.
Properties that we're looking at through
Yeah, okay,
USDA
so
and RCS.
I guess when does the town meet with that USDA representative and Wyndham Regional Commission? Are they still in the, so we still don't know?
No, but we've processed the properties and we're waiting for them to kind of follow up with us.
Yeah, because I mean.
Diane's kind of ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because mine started kind of before the flood, because I kind of addressed it in May.
And so did your
Yeah.
sheets. Because I guess, it's frustrating, and I know it's, nobody in this room can make it go any faster, and even the people that are, FEMA can't either. But we're sitting in a house that could fall in the river, and they're gonna come out in a month? They're gonna come out when it's snowing? Snow melt's gonna come, and then my house is in the river? So I guess that's, and I'm sure you guys are feeling the same frustration.
The process is hard. It's just, there's no clear path of where you need to go, and it seems like you go down these rabbit holes and then it's a dead end, and then you go down another one that's a dead end. And there's a lot of information out there, but it doesn't really lead to anywhere. And that's really my point of being here is, to try to connect a lot of the dots. And I know it's a conversation now, but hopefully it leads somewhere where there's actually some results, because that's what none of us have really seen yet, is the results and the answers that we're looking for.
And again, this is a huge burden on the town, the budget, and for us to get those EWP funds, the town has to sponsor some of that. And is that money going to be there? My house isn't going to take out the bridge. Well, it would take out the other bridge. I'm on Route 100. So structurally for the neighborhood and everything, mine's not as important. But, are those funds even going to be there? So
and there was some funds 2 years ago, which I applied for in the last storm, and I wanted to get it armored. The town missed the deadline. And I needed that, that happened with the town. And I did everything on my end to try to get that help, and it wasn't filed. And then the deadline was gone, and the funds were already there. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because I would have that land right now if we had that armor. And I said, we just need to armor this.
Well, we've submitted it's cold comfort, but at least it's been submitted for this round, so. Is that something, does Bill's Clinton's expertise extend to individuals, or is he strictly municipal? Or these quasi?
Yeah, I think he's more on the municipal side. I mean, I can ask him, or he might know what else.
Yeah, let me see if he has any expertise there.
And Rashid, you have someone sitting on the board. I live on Depot Street. I had to get out of my house twice in this last BS. And, the river's pushing right where the channel should have been moved over. That was scheduled to be moved last year, and then it was too late because it was October and fish. And we were supposed to do it this year, and while watching V-Trans do the inspection on the Depot Street Bridge, he said if you guys had moved that channel over, you wouldn't have had all this damage to the Depot Street Bridge. And, you know, and it's pushing, you know, flooded my cellar, pushed past Holbert's, you know, scared the hell out of us again. And it's like, you know, another half an hour would have just took the road out, but it didn't. But, you know, I got some opinions of what should be happening, you know, what the town should be doing, what they didn't do up there, what they're not doing this year. And I voice them and we'll see what happens.
Well,
It doesn't make any difference, I'm on board.
But even the elevation at your place, I mean, the elevation coming in that bridge is getting scary, you know, it's.
Well, they're saying to take that pier out of there and move that channel over. I heard the guy telling the other guy while I was standing. But we knew that in Irene. And speaking of Irene, we're still paying back a loan for Irene. I don't know how much it is, but it's a few bucks. Not that that takes away from this, but.
So my SBA loan. So paying when they fixed my house last time, so.
They only did me one, but. It's just.
So what else can we do to be like taken seriously though? Like, what else can we do to make sure that we're not just talking about what we need to do, we do things when they need to happen? That's what I want to know. Like, what can we, like, what productively can homeowners do? I mean, you guys are affected as well. Like, is there something, other channels that we should be following up with? I mean, I know consistency, you know, coming to the meetings, but is there something else that we can do, you know, that you see as maybe like a point of, hey, this is an opportunity that you can maybe, I don't know. I just feel like maybe that there's a missing like point of, I don't know.
I don't know what the missing thing is. I know that all of the members of the board are really working hard. We're down staff in the office and we're getting the resources that are available. It's where all the towns in this area are also fighting for the same resources. We're seeking funds where we can get them. We're pushing the scope of the projects as much as we can. As individuals, for example, for Rashid, I mean, he has to, you know, if he can, he'll join the engineer when they come and examine the riverbed, so he can participate in that.
We have like letters we can send on behalf of the
There is,
town.
I mean,
You know what I mean? Like, is there a way that
yeah.
we can be like, hello, there's a municipal like response, but then there's also residential responses to try to advocate for the town, right? You know, on a regional level. I don't know.
Representatives.
Yeah, I mean,
Laura.
that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, Laura come to my house, yeah.
Did she come?
Yep,
Yeah, and
yeah.
you've spoken to her.
Yep, yeah.
I would follow up with her. I mean, I think continuing that conversation is important because that one visit, she had hundreds of visits.
Right.
So I think it's important to stay on the radar. And she may, you know, circling back, maybe get an opportunity to get some new information as she continues to process things. But I'm going down so many different holes that it's like, you just gotta continue. And it's like, there's no map for this.
Well, yeah, I'm just like throwing things at the wall, hoping something sticks, right? And that's not
I agree
very,
with Laura as a resource because she's at the state level.
right, okay.
So, you know, she's definitely,
Okay.
she's an advocate, and plus, I mean, my experiences with her have been very positive. She really gets it, and, you know, but to Rashid's point, it's, you know, like we are doing here. Every time Mike finds another pot,
Right.
we're going for it. We're writing the letter, we're completing the form, we're
Yeah.
getting whatever information together that we need to gain access to that pot. Some of them existed before the storm, and now we have to kind of try to keep them moving while at the same time we're seeking FEMA funds and, you know, getting, you know, new state funding
Right.
that is post-storm funding. It's like a lot of levers at the same time.
I think as well, they're not just giving away, signing checks and giving away.
Oh, wouldn't that be
And they're gonna be
nice?
starting with, you know, 25 cents, 10 cents on the dollar. They're
Right.
just almost insulting you with these low
Yes.
checks.
Oh,
But
God,
it's
the individual ones, yeah.
appeal, and
Yeah.
it's track it, write it, document it, send it in, show the expenses that you're paying, appeal again on the next appeal, and I mean, they really are making you work for the money that should be a little bit more easy to get for
Right.
the losses that you've had, but it's just, you know, they made that pretty clear today over at the fire hall. It's appeal it, document it, appeal it again. And unfortunately, that's the reality.
I would also say to contact your state senators and the governor. Call the governor. Call Bernie.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was saying, let's get Bernie.
Right, in addition to the rep,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Agree entirely. So do we want to, so that was 3, if there's any, that's kind of that, the focus there was FEMA. 4 is just a highlights from Mike on the number of projects, where we stand on our existing FEMA-oriented storm projects.
Well, we generated a FEMA spreadsheet that includes 20 road and/or bridge projects here in town. There's probably others that will be added based on invoices that are coming in. We also put together letters to NRCS that does include Rashid and Diane's properties in that communication, in addition to 7 other properties that also had varying levels of erosion and stream bank deterioration. Scott Jensen is meeting with us. We don't have a specific date set. It'll probably be next week to look at Ball Mountain Brook, as I mentioned, from South Hill Road all the way down the depot, because there's just so much material in the river now. We've got to do something with it. And redistributing it, we were working with West Hampton in putting that channel in place, but the storm came about a week or 2 after that. So we had an effort to channelize that area in front of Water Street, but it didn't happen before the storm came.
You can't do it now?
Well, we've got a plan, but now it's got a much grandiose scale, because you got rubble and material all the way for over a mile that you have to redistribute. And there's going to be a lot of excavators in the river addressing this.
It's an issue in Canada. I think from my conversation with Scott, it's a plan of moving it in how to. They're also doing it appropriately, where they don't only just see material being brought out in a certain way. There's going to be some restrictions to how it's done, but there is a plan in place already for that to happen. I already have the permit above the Route 30 bridge, and we discussed below that to the Long Street bridge as well as a point of an area where we need to bring the elevation down.
Exactly, and to make them into consumable projects. So it really is one concerted project that knits together, but there are actually several steps.
So a lot of material.
Yes, so Andy, if you want, you can join also. I mean, there's no limit on the number of people who can be there when Scott's doing this,
Well, I was told their meeting the last time and they changed the date, so I missed them.
Right.
It didn't happen anyway, so.
Right.
And then V-Trans sort of gave, not me, but the town, a good scolding on that not having happened. Well, we've got a lot more damage to the Depot Street Bridge than we think, because of not doing what we tried to do the year before.
Is there an engineer, obviously there's an engineer report before they open that back up on the damage, or
No, yeah, there is. V-Trans made a report on the damage to the bridge, yes. I got a copy of it at home, I don't remember how I got it.
I think all
our
the
bridges,
abutters.
all our bridges got assessed, and I don't know if they've been looked at further.
Is there a timetable for being condemned, or are they just ready to say?
No, they just said.
They didn't give it a low enough rating.
What was
to get a
wrong with it,
timetable.
and what was wrong with it, and what it needed to be fixed.
It has to be crumbling. It has to be let's say if it's 1 out of 5, 1 is the worst and 5 is the best, it has to be a 1. And then it gets scheduled.
To speak to the greasy, we really pushed for the Jamaica State Park Bridge, through Wyndham Regional, and just one guy that was Joel Blooming really raised hell about it and just kept bringing it up, and I think it brought the project up a couple more years. And the Depot Street Bridge before, like back when Lexa was chair and this guy Lou was on the board, that bridge was getting some attention, was starting to move up, and they were gonna fix it. And then Irene came, I think. It was 7 years out, a long time ago, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
John Roker Campbell, who's the state floodplain manager for our area, is going to meet with me next week. We're going to be looking at some of these substantial damage properties here in town to kind of go over what would need to be done there. As Jessica mentioned, we've got a potential consultant helping us out, at least with some of our FEMA work. And as Jessica also mentioned, we've got we're registered for this event too, so we can get reimbursements. That's it.
Can I just ask about one road that's not on here? Is Old Route 8? Is anyone?
They haven't done any repairs yet. I think one of the property owners may have cleaned out the road where there was a slide that probably shouldn't have been cleaned out. But that hasn't really, there's no town resources that have gone onto that project yet.
The road commissioner said that needs to go out to bid.
Right.
So there's under public concerns that I was going to bring up what someone had to say about Old Route 8. It's that same person.
It needs a little.
We talked about it this morning.
Yeah, it's a slide.
Right.
It's not just what slid into the road, it's a vertical cliff to the river.
Right.
That's
what we sent on a big hole. Someone's going to fall in it. I got a lengthy call from this citizen today. Just concerned about Old Route 8. What we were going to do about it. Well, nothing had been done, and I told him that it was a major project and he needed to go out to bid.
Correct.
And he did say that he had done some excavating to try to help and wondered if maybe he could be reimbursed. Not that that's funny, but so I just told him I'd bring it up.
Okay. Jessica, it's John Hathaway calling in. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Does FEMA allow for retroactive funding of projects where, because it's an emergency to take care of something, the town can go ahead and spend money? I realize there obviously must be a risk, but is it a non-starter to spend money and then hope that FEMA will reimburse for costs, or is that possible?
No. So the way the lens by which to examine spend and timing when the effort of the town is to preserve as much as possible reimbursement from FEMA is to comply strictly with the municipality's own procurement policy with a little bit of Code of Federal Regulation overlay. So in the immediate aftermath, during the storm and immediately after, if there are actions that need to be taken to prevent imminent harm, whether it's to persons or property or individual property or town property, during and in the immediate aftermath of the storm, there is the ability to approve that. The chair of the select board can approve that spend before you've either applied for FEMA funds and without following the other more traditional and stated obligations of the town, which include a triple bid unless there's an exception from the bid process. And then with respect to each of those projects, and our list of projects includes some of those that were started during the storm or in the immediate aftermath and approved on that basis. Even though the work may happen in the weeks after, if they are to complete that project that was approved on that basis properly, all of that is still eligible for FEMA reimbursement. It's not a guarantee, but it's not disqualified. Right. After that, we are now through that period, and so every project now needs to be scoped and bid in compliance with our procurement policies, our municipal, the town of Jamaica, and have to meet the FEMA guidelines. So for example, we talked about some engineering, certain projects require engineering, certain permitting on it, you know, the Scott Jensen comes in to give us permitting for work in the river. So that's roughly, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's roughly how we need to operate to preserve our ability to seek FEMA funding.
So the time period for reimbursement for emergency repairs is passed at this point, you're saying, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And I just want to say one thing, you know, we spoke last week in person, and then since then, some repairs to West Hill Road South started. And I think it was Wesley who was doing that work. And I just wanted to compliment him. I don't know if it was his own particular design or if other people were involved, but the way he built a swale where the stream crosses under the road, I thought was a very logical and sound solution to prevent water from following down the road, but instead going across. If there was ever another flood where the culvert washes out, at least it only washes out a small swath of road right there, as opposed to the, you know, whatever it is, another quarter of a mile down the road past Diana's house. So.
Well, that RFP was created by Keith, and he worked with, we actually did get 3 bids for that scope. Wesley won it, and you know, and he is doing a great job. And by the way, we did receive the emails to both emails, so the narrative email and then the second email with the attachment for the map. We did have quite a bit going on today in the town office, but I want you to know it's in our hands. It's clearly very considered. I have shared it with the board. We didn't have the time to raise it for this meeting, but Keith has it, Greg has it, and and thank you for the effort. Clearly a lot of work.
Very clear.
Yes, and very clear, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm happy to try to help where I can. Thank you.
So with that, I'm gonna close out items 3, 4, and 5. We still will have a public concern section, so if someone thinks of something else. I have to move item number 6 to executive session. We'll talk about the new treasurer then, and then I'll have an update at the next select board meeting. I'm gonna scoot reviewing and approving timesheets to the last, right before executive session. So I'm gonna open it to public concerns. I know we've had a lot of ranging conversation, but there could be something besides the storm, and go ahead.
Just one thing,
Yeah.
I know that FEMA was passing out their water test kits that could be processed by the state.
Yes.
For a while. That's something I haven't done now, but I was wondering if anybody had their well water processed and if there was any issues or any concerns pertaining to the storm and contamination of the well water.
I know I haven't done mine yet. She hasn't.
Anybody?
Not yet. You have to go to Brattleboro by.
It's not as easy as
Yeah, we're gonna go to Springfield because we have family in Springfield, so we'll drop it off there. We just haven't here exactly.
Yes.
The box is there. It's stay freezer, right? Every time I like go by and I'm like, oh. Right, but when we know we're gonna go to Springfield. But I will tell you, I mean, we are gonna go to Springfield in the next couple weeks,
Go to the
so.
DMV at the same time if you have to go. I was just there today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Same building.
Yeah. So I'll let you know.
So I would like to add, we do have probably 10 to 15 water test kits in the fire station. So if people need them, come get them. We're trying to get them dispersed as much as we can.
There's also 2 different kits. There's the water one and the VOC, and the VOC you have to get mailed to you from the state. So just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another one.
I know, it's even more complicated.
Okay. Anything else in the fire department you want to let people know about?
Yes, actually, it's a good point. We do have some food, some.
Oh, you still have the boxes?
Yes, we have some boxes that I was going to bring to the Jamaica Wardsboro Food Bank. If people need them, please let me
Please.
know. We also have cleaning
There's
kits.
a lot of food in them, and there's still cleaning
We have
kits?
boxes of cleaning kits and water. We have more water than we know what to do with. So if anybody needs like pallets of, not pallets,
Right, those cases
of water,
of bottled water, right.
please come get them.
Okay. And just, I'm gonna say this to the camera. So we had our cleaning kit and we used the mold remediation thing in the sprayer on our basement after we had to peel every last little thing out of there. It was great. It doesn't stink, and it was really great. It was it took a really awful situation and made it slightly better. So if you haven't picked up the cleaning kits, get the cleaning kits.
We don't have any more of that.
Oh, we don't?
No.
Oh.
No, we don't have the 2 gallon. You probably took the last one. But we do have the.
But the kits are great.
The kits are great.
That's where they have the mops. There's like a ton of stuff in there packed in that bucket. If you haven't gotten one, seriously, get it. And if you have, get a second one. If you need it. And the food box, it has a bunch of stuff in it, really.
It's all good. It's all canned food, cereal.
Right. There's peanut butter, there's bars, there's like a lot of stuff in there. So definitely grab those. All right, thank you.
Jessica?
Yeah.
Sorry, just speaking of
sure.
food. Hi. Just speaking of food, I wanted to let people know that the last food distribution for kids is happening this Thursday, August 17th at Jamaica Community Church from 3 to 6 p.m. It's the last one for the summer. And this has been an incredibly successful program. We're up to about 100 bags a week for kids. So any household with kids 18 and under, each kid qualifies. You don't have to prove anything or demonstrate need. You just show up and grab a bag, and there's pantry staples, produce items, and dairy available. So last one this week, 3 to 6 at the Jamaica Community Church. And also you have a thank you in the chat from Sarah Merrill for looking at that email. So I didn't think you were seeing the chat, so I thought I would highlight that.
Thank you. That was Susan. That was a fantastic program. So great.
I have a question about that program. Hopefully it continues next year. Is that state funded or is that done by private donation?
Do you know, Susan?
Yeah, that is a part of the the USDA program, which is actually a part of the Department of Defense. That came about because Jamaica qualifies at a certain level. And it is a partnership with the food manager at Leland and Gray. He's the coordinator for our region. So there's been a pickup here in Jamaica and also at Leland and Gray this summer. But it happens throughout the state and actually throughout the country. It had been a program where kids would come in and be fed on site each day. It's a part of the free and reduced breakfast and lunch program through the schools. But during COVID, they changed the regulations and allowed us to offer these pantry bags and supplies for 7 days worth of breakfast and lunch for all kids. So I'm hoping that it's going to continue, and I'm hoping that it's going to continue with these parameters, because it has been really successful with that. And we're actually looking to expand it. I know in other towns in Vermont, they started out with maybe 100 bags and they're up to 1,200 now each week. We started out with about 60 bags, and we're doing between 95 and 100 a week now. So it's a great program. And I have to say, Jacob Gallagly at Leland and Gray has been doing a phenomenal job coordinating it. He does all the heavy lifting for us. And then we have some really fantastic volunteers who've been really helping things to run, pitching in when we've gotten COVID or when we've been away. So especially a thank you to Jamaica Community Church and the partnership that's happened there. But yeah, it's through the USDA. And so if you have an opportunity to, I reached out to Becca Balin, our representative in Congress, and just let her know, like, this is a government program that's actually working. And so we would like to see it continue happening. So thank you. And thank you for that support.
Did you have any questions about that, or?
No, I saw it going on, and I think it's great, and
Yeah.
not that I needed it for my family, but I just thought it was a great opportunity for people in the community. Want to thank everybody that's involved in that.
Yes, thank you. And Susan and Derek had it on their front porch one week. Just, everybody just got to pitch in when needed. So.
One of the things we're actually looking at partnering with other area agencies to bring this to households that are not just households with children. And it would have to be a different program, but I know there's a need for that as well. And so if you're interested, if you want to support this cause, maybe we can keep the momentum going. You're certainly welcome to reach out to me at the library, librarian@jamaicavtlibrary.org, or just come find me, come knock on the door. Don't do it today though, because we all have COVID in this household and we don't want you.
Yeah, we have a couple COVID houses, yeah. Get better. Tell Derek we hope he feels better soon too.
Thank you. He's sleeping.
Any other public concerns? Please, Paul.
We talked about it last meeting. Did you appoint a second member to represent Jamaica in the Regional Emergency Management Committee?
Oh my God, we did it. I'm sorry, Paul. My brain is like fried. Isn't it Jennifer? Is it Jennifer? Why do we?
Jennifer's the assistant in Jamaica, but she hasn't been appointed.
Did we ask Mike? Did we ask him this?
I'm on the energy committee, I think.
Right.
So I had spoken to Ed about that.
Oh, Ed, yeah.
And he's very ambivalent.
Oh, he is?
I can go talk to him again.
No, we can come up with another name. We don't have to see to that. It's still in the works, Paul. It's definitely on there. We need to do it. You're absolutely right to keep the flame alive. I think it's just been, yeah. But yes. So we'll see you at the next meeting, hopefully. The goal will definitely be to have that name for you. Okay. Any other public concerns before we?
Just back to Old Route 8. What's the deal with that?
Oh, you know what? Keith just walked out and we talked about it this morning, and I don't want to do it without this.
Do you not?
I can add to that. This is Greg.
Yes.
There's a fairly substantial landslide and bank erosion that requires a larger scale than what we can do within the town. And I would cautiously, support the people that have been trying to help out, but I would highly recommend that nobody's out there working on our roads on their own initiatives. That does require, some stream work, and also, larger pieces of equipment than we have. I don't know if that answers the question, but I hate to say that it's prioritized, but with full access in and out from both sides, it fell a little bit down the list.
Yeah, Greg was just talking to Old Route 8.
Just what would I tell those people that are asking about what the status
it's
is?
just everything's got to go out to bid. My hopes is that we can lump things together with roads that, say there's, Heights Falls has 2 or 3 or 4 of these slides, lump them together as one bid. Smith Road and Old Route 8 go together, and just get this out and get it bid out so people have it and we can get going.
So do we need to add it to the list of FEMA projects?
It is in it.
Oh, is it on there already?
I didn't see it on this one.
It's been updated since the last.
Yeah, there's
We
only
haven't generated any invoices yet, but.
Right, but we put it on the no number yet list.
Wanted to just respond, that's all, something.
Yeah, I tried to
So,
today, he wouldn't answer the phone.
I talked to him.
Well,
Texted him.
good.
Any
But,
other?
so about people jumping in trying to help. Should I respond, Greg, to like probably not do any more of that, or?
I would definitely respond.
How about you do it?
Well, I'm not around for a week, and I prefer that. I mean, since you've got the train of communication, you can certainly reach out to me. But I think in general, we don't want people out doing that for multiple reasons. One,
Yes.
we need to get it bid if we're going to get it reimbursed. We need to make sure it's up to standards, and we certainly don't want to risk the liability of having somebody doing something.
Okay.
Question.
I wasn't encouraging you.
Without the bids.
Say that again?
What is the procedure for putting?
So it really depends on what the work is that you're bidding. Some work is highly technical, and we're painfully familiar of who's out there, who has the equipment, access to the materials, the skill set, and we then we create a scope and we submit it to. We ask everyone who we know, even if we know that they don't have time and so they're not likely to submit a bid. We still ask them all. So I'm focusing more on these FEMA projects.
I know one person who wasn't asked. My husband.
For which project? For which project?
For any project in this town.
So I would defer to
I mean, it's out there. I mean, it's.
Where? That's what I'm asking. I looked on the website, the town website.
Right.
Nothing in. Where is it?
When the bids go out, then it's out there. When the bids go out.
Right, so let's go back, right. So back to that somewhat long explanation that I had to give for the procurement process that has to be followed for FEMA projects. We're now into a new phase, right? So these are all projects that qualify for FEMA funds, provided we follow the detailed triple bid. So we've got however many that we haven't put out to bid yet. So those will be,
where do you put it out to?
Well, it depends. If we have the time, then we follow the publication in the newspaper process. But for a lot of these, we don't have 2-3 weeks to let it, sit in a publication in
But I
Brattleboro.
understand that some people in the town receive phone calls saying it's up for bids.
Not for me.
No, we do. I've placed phone calls because when we need the bids quickly so that we can comply with what FEMA's requirements and still get the work done as quickly as possible.
Right.
Because we just went through a period of, obviously, some people couldn't get out of their homes, and we needed to get there. And also, we knew more rain was coming, so we needed to start that. And some of those projects began at the first category is it's an emergency. The house is on fire. Got to get the fireman in there. And to finish the house, we can stay with the same contractor. That being said, I'd have to sit down with Mike and Keith to see, are any of the next projects, are we going to publish them in the paper?
I think probably they just get posted. We post them. Where? In the town office.
Town office, the post office, and across the street, right, at the store.
I don't go to the town office very often.
Right.
My mail is delivered at my house, so I don't go to the post office.
Right.
So how do you find out?
What company is your husband?
Whether there are bids?
What company is your husband?
We don't have to, I guess we can. Or how about if I just have your information? No, I'm like.
I just want to know where you find it.
Right.
And you just said that you contact everyone.
Do you use internet? Can you get on our website? Like if
Yes.
they're posted on the website?
I've been looking.
Okay.
Nothing was on there about.
I can set up a tab for it, and then when we have any, I will put them all up there. So.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Right. But like I said, this first wave that we've been through was the immediate aftermath. And it was, we reached. Right, exactly. So, but what I would say is, if you wouldn't mind either calling Sarah or I and just give us your contact information, tell us a bit, I don't know you personally and I don't know your husband's business. Right. So if you can just share your business, like a description of your business, what you can take on in terms of types of work, then you're known to us. Do you know what I'm
My
saying?
husband does excavating and logging. I have 3 sons that have CDLs. I have 2 grandsons that own their own business construction.
Right.
All I need to do is make a phone call and you'll think the Teamsters hit town.
Right. So you do you know the business or Keith or?
Everybody knows.
Oh, okay.
I do, and I spoke to your husband
Yes, you
at
did.
one point about we need trucks really bad, like dump trucks.
Right.
So, you know, he offered his excavating services, and I didn't know any of that were needed. But I didn't know we needed.
Yeah, the
we needed
initial
dump
phase
trucks.
was just trucks.
But I talked to
We were
him.
getting trucks
Right.
from everywhere.
Right. To get gravel up, to get road material.
That's all I had to tell him.
Yeah. So, yes. Call Sarah, give us your information no matter what, I mean, yeah, please.
The other concern I have is for West Hill. 30 days, not one sign, caution sign or anything else was put on either end of West Hill Road South. I hadn't been down through until the last meeting that we came to. It was posted on July 18th that the roads were roughly passable. Let me tell you, it was a death trap. I never drive down the thing again. No caution signs, nothing. And you hit that road, there's a 6-foot ditch on this side, a 6-foot ditch on this side, and a goat path in between. There should have been signs up there. Because people that didn't know the area, if they ever started, I called everyone in my family, told them don't come. Like my daughter-in-laws, my granddaughter-in-laws, because if they hit that road with kids in the car and went off the edge, somebody would have got killed.
Right.
So that was a really big concern to me.
Right. I mean, I totally hear you. I mean, I was up in that road a lot, so I know exactly what you mean, right after the storm. And I have to say personally, and this is, a little mea culpa, there's folks who live up there who have second homes. So we spoke to a lot of the people who have second homes on the road. They called in right after, in the days after, and we told them what condition it was in. And then there are the folks that live up there. So in my mind, and I was like, everybody knows, right? Like, who's driving up West Hill who doesn't live there or own property there? It didn't occur to me. But shame on me. I didn't, right?
Natives also have family, extended families. What if somebody went up that road, like I said, I have 18 great-grandchildren.
Right.
And my daughter-in-laws or my granddaughter-in-laws decided, we'll go see grandma. And all of a sudden, they hit that road.
Right.
Not knowing.
I hear you. I mean, that struck me as like I don't know, like everybody who lives on that road watched what happened and saw the damage. So mea culpa. I guess at that.
There should have been signs, at least a caution sign.
Right.
There wasn't a sign, there wasn't a flare, there wasn't a cone. Giving anybody any sense of danger.
You mean once the V-Trans folks were out and they had moved their cones and signs, right?
I don't believe there was ever a cone put there.
At the bottom of West Hill South?
Oh, probably where the bottom.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what you're saying? So before you go up West Hill South, there should be,
If you around the other way and headed down the road, there was nothing up by the high tension line saying road's dangerous or anything.
I hear ya.
I mean, somebody would have got killed up there. My husband would drive up and down, he'd go up the side of the mountain. But let me tell you, I held my breath.
Okay, I hear you.
Don't think you didn't hear about it.
I hope you're taking from me that I'm not ignoring you. I
No,
totally
I
hear
know.
it. Yeah. Any other public concerns before we do our last business and then go into executive session? No? All right, so do you want to get so this is you can stay. We're going to approve the pay orders. Thank you, kid. All right. Thank you guys. All right, thank you, Rashid. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
I don't have that.
What do I have? Oh, this guy, yeah. So let's go through the motion, so to speak.
Hold on, man.
Oh, okay. You're running too late. Yeah,
I had to make a note, so I didn't leave it open. I'm like, oh great, Rafi in the night and left the door open.
So, Mike, we're gonna go into executive session. Yeah, so, yeah. There's no more. Yes, it won't be long.
Is there a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion. Oh, we're gonna approve the pay orders. Oh, no, stay going. No, we're still in session. We're just, there's a bio break happening for some people.
But, okay. When we send you an email, you can just say Friday 3.
I almost passed out. We were just talking about it. I was wicked overheated when everybody's like breathing out here.
Thank you, Keith.
That's a lot of people.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know. Now shut the phone. Okay, let's go executive session. 8:45.
Oh my gosh. Shortest agenda ever, longest meeting.
Yeah, well.
I know, I was like.
Chrissy gave me a heads up. I told you that. Chrissy gave me a heads up.
Yeah.
Although that was.
Could have called her back and told her that you were doing it, maybe they'll see.
You know what? I wanted
to see what you are.
This I thought was helpful. I did. There was parts of it that. No. Okay. Is Andy coming back?
Now he's out.
Andy's not abandoning us, is he? Oh, maybe. All right, we have Andy back. So, I make a motion to approve the pay orders. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the pay orders? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.
I abstain.
Oh, okay.
I'm abstaining.
Okay, that's fine. We have a quorum. Thank you, Greg.
We forgot you were there, Greg.
And the pay orders that have been submitted, I'm going to make a motion to approve the pay orders that have been submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Great. Thank you. Okay.
I'll abstain.
All right. Sounds good.
When you get back.
So, Greg, if you can hear me, I'm about to make two separate motions. The first of which is that I move to find that premature general public knowledge of concerns related to our initially selected town treasurer and delinquent tax collector would clearly place this individual at a substantial disadvantage because the select board would have to discuss sensitive personal information if discussed in public. Can I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, with that, I now move that we enter into executive session to discuss the events surrounding that candidate for town treasurer and delinquent tax collector under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes. Can I have a second? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Great.
Aye.
All right, with that, we are now in executive session. All right, so it is now 9:12 p.m. and the board is exiting executive session. We did not take any action either during executive session or now. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.